Hey everyone, it's Ryan from the Open Fields Podcast. This week's episode, we have guest Abby Beeman, a former Frankfort High School standout and current guard for the Marshall University women's basketball team. In this episode, we talk about her early beginnings in basketball, her making a life-altering decision in the 6th grade, and now what is up to her final year in Division I basketball. After several attempts to record this episode, we were finally able to get through it. I hope you liked the episode, and if you do, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. With that being said, here's episode 2 of the Open Fields Podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Open Fields Podcast. I am your co-host, Ryan Fields, along with Ethan Landis. Ethan, say hello.
What's going on, everybody?
And we have a great guest today. We have Abby Beeman from the Marshall University women's basketball team. How you doing, Abby?
I'm doing good. Thank you guys for having me.
No problem. Thanks for joining us. So definitely kind of just wanted to get to know you a little bit better, talk about your basketball career, life in general, really, and just had some questions to ask. So you ready to go?
Yep, perfect. So I'm ready.
All right. So really we'll just kind of start with, growing up. As we mentioned before, right before we started the video, we all three went to Frankfort High School in Ridgely, West Virginia. Now, are you originally from Ridgely? Like you grew up, did you grow up in Short Gap? Did you grow up in like Fort Ashby?
No, so I'm originally from Ridgely, never moved away from it. We did move a house between me growing up and, going to high school and everything, but both in Ridgely. So yeah, I've never lived in Short Gap, Fort Ashby, none of that.
Gotcha. Yeah, actually, grew up where I'm at right now. I actually grew up 3 houses down where my dad lives and has lived for quite some time, but I actually live pretty close to where I grew up as well. And actually, Ethan's dad and my dad actually grew up together. So,
yeah, I grew up on Nobby Road out Short Gap, and so it was like a 5-minute drive to Frankfort for me.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Not at all.
Yeah, as I say, it only took me about maybe 8 minutes. When I would have to go to high school. So we all live pretty close. But just really wanted to kind of get started and have you talk a little bit about your childhood and what it was like growing up for you, and really how you got started in sports.
Yeah, so growing up, I was actually really involved in gymnastics. I have 2 older sisters. My oldest one doesn't really play sports, but the middle kid, Katie, she plays sports. She actually played softball at West Lib, but she was really into sports and basketball, softball, all that. So then when I came along, I was really into gymnastics. I'm not going to say my dad was like a huge fan of that, but he definitely always wanted me to be involved in like everything and just, end up sticking with whatever my passion was. And it was gymnastics for the longest time. Then I got to a point in 6th grade where I had to kind of make the choice. I couldn't keep doing both because of the demands of gymnastics. It's just too much to kind of balance out with another sport. So I chose basketball. And then from there, I played basketball all throughout middle school. I also did softball, but, it was too slow for me. So I eventually grew out of that. And then also did cross country and track in high school. And yeah, so that was just kind of, how I got into basketball. And then I don't really say there's like a rhyme or reason, not really a player or anything. I just kind of fell in love with the game. And even when I did gymnastics, I'd always make time before I'd go out back and like shoot on my hoop and everything. And being that young, I didn't really realize like, oh, I have a passion for this. But like looking back on it, like I just realized that I always made time for basketball, even when it may not have been like my primary focus. So I just really fell in love with the game. And like I said, there's no really rhyme or reason. I just feel like it's something maybe I was destined to do and, part of my journey and definitely a big part of who I am. So I'm glad that I chose basketball. Not really a great, interesting story, but yeah, just something I love to do. So I kind of followed that.
I know you said you didn't really have any like play or anything like that you looked up to, but was there anybody that you kind of try to model your game after, like growing up? For an example, like whenever I was growing up, Fields knows this. I'm a big Duke fan, so JJ Redick was the guy whenever I was growing up at the time, and everybody wanted to shoot threes like 8 feet behind the 3-point line. Everybody wanted to, go down the court with their hands up, waving the crowd on. Did you have anybody that you kind of model your game after, like growing up, and just kind of like fall into a rhythm with, or what?
Yeah, I will say, like saying that I didn't really have like an influence in that way. Like, I'm meaning kind of like how I got into the game, but there's definitely players that like I watch and I'm like I definitely want to be like them, whether that's subconsciously or consciously. But I'd say a big one, and I still have my mini Kobe Bryant jersey with the number 8 on it. I still keep it in my closet, and I won't even say it's so much like his game, but like I'm so big on mentality. Like I just love the way he competes, and wasn't scared of anyone. He's gonna outwork you. Like I think I just kind of fell in love with that part of his game, and then obviously he's a bucket. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so I think it's more for him like his personality and stuff, and then as I got older, I feel like this is like an obvious one, but like Steph is so fun to watch and just the stuff he's able to do with the ball. And like you kind of referenced to JJ, like he can shoot the heck out of the ball. So
Mm.
I feel like that's kind of an obvious one, but definitely a fun player to watch. And now like I'm kind of into like Tyrese Halliburton, like he can pass so well and he does it all on the floor and he's really a floor general. So I'd say it's like a mix of people, whether subconsciously or consciously, but definitely if I had to pick one, I'd say it's Kobe.
You can't
That's a
go
pretty
wrong
good
with
answer.
Kobe Bean. Yeah, yeah, you can't go wrong with Kobe Bean.
You can't, you
Kobe
Just
can't.
Bean.
just my curiosity, a home state kid. Did you ever watch any White Chocolate Jason Williams?
I have. I remember my dad would send me like YouTube highlights of him, like the like elbow pass that he would
Oh
do.
yeah,
Yeah, I was
absolutely.
never able to do that. But yeah, I'm a big like I love passing just because it takes like the IQ and stuff, and some people you really can't teach that. So I love to watch good passers.
And see, that's kind of like what I grew up on was Jason Williams, because I'm a couple years older than even Ethan, and I won't say how much older I am than you, Abby, but yeah, that's what I kind of grew up on was Jason Williams, and with him and Randy Moss both going to DuPont High School, which actually no longer exists, and I don't remember what exactly high school it was that replaced DuPont. Do you happen to know, E?
No, I just know they both grew up in a place called Rand, West Virginia, and
That's correct.
Jay Will actually went to Marshall for I think a year or so before he transferred.
Yeah, he did.
He transferred to Florida, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Billy
That's right.
Donovan actually brought him down there. I'm pretty sure.
That's right. Yeah, because they also had what was his name? Brett Nelson also went to Florida, and he was a West Virginia boy too. I think he went to St. Albans, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken. So definitely Florida had that West Virginia connection there when we were growing up. And you had said like you had to give up gymnastics in middle school. Like was that a hard transition for you, being 11, 12 years old?
Yeah, definitely. Just because I did, I played. I don't know if you know how Frankfurt works, but like, I'm sure you do. Like, middle school is kind of weird with how you're in fifth grade when you're in the middle school. So they actually let me play when I was in fifth grade with the sixth grade team. And then when I got to sixth grade, finally, it was like I had to miss some practices in basketball because I was going to gymnastics. So it was kind of to the point where like it's not fair to other kids if I'm only half showing up and then getting to play. So I kind of just had to make a decision there. But being that young, I remember that decision was probably the hardest for me. I wouldn't say now that it has been, but at the time, it was like I never compared anything to that. And then I remember in the room with my gymnastics coach, like crying, telling her I was quitting and stuff because it was just a big part of my life, like the amount of time I spent at the gym and stuff. But looking back on it, I know hindsight's always 2020, but I think I made a pretty good decision. So it was
Yeah,
worth the trouble I had to go through at the moment.
yeah, you could say you made a pretty good choice. I think you
Yeah,
felt
not
you
bad, not
fell into it pretty good. So,
bad.
with that background in gymnastics, is there any like crossover from like what kind of you learned in gymnastics, whether it be like footwork, balance, that type of stuff, and that you've kind of put into your game going forward?
Yeah, I say 100%. And it shows up in the weight room still to this day. I definitely got my core from gymnastics. Like my core strength 100% comes from there. At least the base of it. Like we our warm up. I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it was very very intense with like the core workouts and just the stamina. And I think I also got my base for that from there. I ended up running cross country and track and stuff, but so there's definitely translation. Still people on the team will like ask me to just do a back tuck every now and then, and I'm somehow, some way still able to do it. Like I can just go throw one on the court. So, um, I'd say it's definitely given me a base for my core strength and even my endurance, and then it's obviously grown from there. But and I'd say balance too. I might not be aware of it, but like definitely I had to balance on a 4-inch beam. I'm sure I've kept some balance from that. So yeah, definitely some crossover there, and I'm thankful for it as much as the time I did spend on it. And I might not do gymnastics now. I definitely still feel the effects from it.
So what was your like in middle school, like when you had, when you transitioned from gymnastics to basketball, like how do I ask this? Obviously, having the athleticism that it sounds like you had, especially coming from that type of background. I mean, was it an easy transition?
I would say so. Like I've always like said this. I've been blessed, obviously, with talent and ability. Not that I haven't worked hard to exceed that, but I've definitely been blessed with the base of some athleticism and stuff. So I wouldn't say the transition was super hard because at that point you're just really playing basketball. Now when you get older and you get into things, it's more like X's and O's and stuff. But I'd say I'd always had the athleticism, and it just kind of gave me confidence knowing that on the basketball court when you're younger, like sometimes that's all you need is a little athleticism, even if you're not working hard or you don't really understand the game. So I would say yes to your question for sure.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say because from the games and stuff that I've watched, it seems like your IQ on the court is very high. At what point in your life did it really start in middle school that maybe you kind of started to learn the game a little bit more, or when did your IQ of the game really start to kind of come to fruition or come to focus? Because from just what I've seen, like you seem to have a very high IQ when it comes to the game.
Yeah, I'll say that that's something I kind of take pride in because I feel like you can't teach IQ. Like it's something you either have or you don't. And I think I've always kind of had it to some extent. And then just the fact that I mean, if you know me, you know I'm a sports junkie. I always have a game on. People even tease me on the bus. Like I always am watching some kind of game, and even like sitting here now, like I'll be watching a game, whatever it might be. So I think I've picked up things from just watching and learning, and then like I've said before, like subconsciously, I might not even know I'm doing it, but then when I get on the court, like it just translates because I've seen it time and time again. And even just watching the NBA, all they do is run pick and roll. And so just learning like off of that too, like that's all they need to be successful if you can run a pick and roll right. So and you have the right people around you. So I'd say I'd always been blessed with an IQ to play the game, but I'm just obsessed with basketball, and just always watching it and being around the game has certainly helped it grow.
And let's not beat around the bush here, Abby. You're a walking green light when you get on the court there. So that is something I think you can't really teach either. Is you have the touch to shoot, right? And shoot or shoot. And if you're feeling it, you are feeling it. Um, did you have any like background in your family of like great shooters, or is that just something you just fell into?
I would say, I mean, not that I'm super aware of. My dad was athletic. I hope he doesn't watch me. That'll get to his head. No, my dad was athletic. I've heard my grandma was a good basketball player, but like no one's ever been like, oh, like this person could really shoot or whatever. So I think I definitely have a background of athleticism, but as far as like shooters go, I might be the best in the family. I don't know. I've never
I
heard
don't doubt
otherwise.
that.
So.
I don't doubt that.
Well, yeah, I mean, based off of your stats, I mean, you are the Frankfurt High School's all-time leading scorer with 2,217 points, and it seems just from the stats that I have seen, like you were a very well-rounded all-around player. You had 540 assists, 547 rebounds, and even 404 steals. So, like, when you, I mean, obviously yes, you were the scoring type. How did you in high school, like was that your main focus, like was that your type of game in high school, or you just happened to be that very good shooter that just happened to score a lot of points? Like talk about how you were and how your game was in high school.
Yeah, so I mean, this has always just been me. I can score the basketball obviously, and that comes from hard work and just repetition and things of that nature. I'm not just going to get out there and shoot 20 shots without having put the work in first. And I've always been like that, even in high school. So, but also I realize, I have to get my teammates involved if I'm out there taking all the shots and, how fun, like that's not fun for them. So, I've always been the type of player where I'm going to put the team first. If I have an open layup, a teammate has an open layup, I'm going to give it to them. And so I think just not having a weakness in my game, whether that be defense, offense, rebounding, whatever it may be, that's something I've always definitely focused on. And like I said, still to this day, I always want to get my teammates involved. Like that's super important. And sometimes to the point where I'm probably a little bit unselfish too unselfish. And while the points I did score in high school, like I was also surrounded by a bunch of good players who made it easier on me. So I'd say yes, I know when to look for mine. I know when it's time, like I need to step up and get a bucket. But also I know, and have enough trust in the people around me that if they're open, I'm gonna trust them to knock it down or whatever it may be, make the layup. So
Listen, if you're putting up a 40 piece, I don't need to shoot. Okay, you can have it.
hey, not
Uh,
everyone thinks like that. So
so now this is actually kind of cool because I've been wanting to ask this. Now I was in the gym when Jen Cessna broke Julie's record for scoring. Right, going into the game, you're how many points behind it. What is that game like? What is your mentality going into this? And when you get closer and closer to it, do you feel like this is going to be sweet, or like are you still focused on the game?
yeah. So I was always like I've said before, I'm a big competitor too. I hate to lose. So first and foremost, do whatever I can to win the game. Whether that's about me, not about me. So going into the game, I'm just gonna be me. I'm just gonna be myself. I remember thinking that because I didn't like get it like with just a few games left. Like I still had plenty of time, so I knew eventually it was gonna come,
Hmm.
regardless. So just go out there and play how I play, and it'll happen eventually. So the game I got it in, unfortunately, we were not. I don't know. We were. I think we were winning by. I think it was against Philip Barber by like 10 maybe or so. So I'm the type of person like I don't want it to be made a big deal. Like I just want to win. Now we can celebrate after, but I just want to win the game. So I think I got it on, if I'm remembering correctly, I'm pretty sure I got it on an and one, and so it was easy to like kind of stop the game and like have a moment with it. But so yeah, I was just gonna be me, just gonna play basketball, and then whenever it comes, it would come, and it did happen to come, obviously eventually. So I remember they did a whole thing for me, which I was very appreciative of. But at that point, it's just like credit to my hard work and everything I've put in to get to that moment. It's not something that just happens. It's something that you definitely have to work for and something that I worked for. So looking back on it now, I think I have more appreciation for it, just knowing that, that is kind of something not everyone gets to do and that I did put in a lot of work to just make that moment happen. And then this is actually a cool story. Jen actually sent flowers to the school after I'd broken her record. So they called me up to the office to get them and everything. It was just kind of like a cool gesture for her to do, just kind of like passing the torch off. And then records are made to be broken, so maybe one of these days I'll get to do the same.
Well, I mean, you set the bar pretty high. Let's just say
Yeah,
that.
2,200 points. That's a lot of points. Heck, I think in my high school career, I think I might have scored 700 because I really only played varsity my junior and senior year, and like 400 of those came my senior year. So, but yeah, like so for those who don't know, who we're speaking of is Jennifer Cessna was the all-time leading scorer in Frankfurt high school history. She actually broke her sister Julie's point record until Abby got it. And Abby, if I'm not mistaken, you actually broke it your junior year, correct?
I think so. I think it was my junior year. I think it was. I just get them confused with like the 1,000 point and the 2,000 the school. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think that one was my junior year.
So that's
Yes,
incredible because
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so like that record stood for like I think 5 years or something like that before Jen broke
maybe longer.
Julie's
Yeah,
record.
yeah.
And like Jen broke it her senior year and there was like 3 games left. So like you to take it in your junior year, that's amazing.
Yeah, that is incredible. So how did that really set you up for your senior year? Like knowing that the school points record is kind of out of the way. What did that really do for you leading into your senior year? Like what were your expectations for senior year?
Well, yeah, we made it to actually made it to states that year as well. That was like the first time in a few years. So that was really exciting for us. Like at least back then, like it was hard. I know like they've realigned like the regions and stuff, but it was like
They've
hard.
realigned them even since I
Yeah,
was in school. It's
right.
ridiculous.
All the time. But it was harder to make it there, honestly, than it was like when you got there because you'd feel like you'd already beaten like the best teams. So we finally made it. And then going into my senior year, I just felt like there was no pressure. Like we made states the previous year. I had broken the school record, which people expected me to do. And I just wanted to have fun and enjoy my senior year. And then most importantly, do whatever I could to hopefully win a state championship. Now, obviously, that didn't happen but we did end up making it back to states. Ran into a really good team who ended up going on to win it. So can't be mad about it. But yeah, just I'd also already committed before my senior year, so like that was out of the way. I could just really focus on basketball and focus on my team and just doing what I needed to do. So my senior year was a great one, just like the previous 3 years. And I think just having all that done in my junior year, I really just set myself up for a year where I could just really focus on basketball and just enjoy it.
Which actually kind of leads me into my next question: is the recruiting process that you went through. Since you said you had actually committed before your senior year, you committed to Shepherd. What was the recruiting process like for you? With 16, 17-year-old kids that are getting recruited, it can be a lot. So kind of break down and talk to us a little bit about what it was like for you personally to recruit, and what went into your decision to choose Shepherd with over any of the other schools that were offering you.
Yeah, so I feel like my story isn't really exactly what a lot of kids go through in the fact that I wasn't heavily recruited. We don't come from a big area. My parents weren't going to spend hours out of their week traveling me to some big AU team, which is where a lot of kids get their exposure from. So I did play on like a local team, but as far as that goes, I just had my high school tape, and if you wanted to come see me play, you had to come to Short Gap or wherever I was playing in West Virginia. So that being said, I didn't really have a lot of offers. I kind of had to make myself known, send a bunch of emails out to people, just hoping to get replies. A lot of D2s I sent them to, probably some D1s looking back. I never got interest from any D1s. A few D2s, but Shepherd, like I said, was kind of pretty early on, at least for like then. I know when big time recruits are getting recruited, like they do recruit early or like end up committing early, which is like fairly normal. But for me, I emailed the Shepherd coach. She emailed me back, kind of said she wanted to come see me play or to come to their elite camp. So I go to their elite camp going into my senior year, I think the summer of that. And maybe it's even my junior year. My memory's kind of fuzzy right now. But either way, I go to their elite camp. I really didn't play well at all. And I remember my dad telling me, like, you need to go talk to her and tell her, like, this is not how you play. Like, because everyone at those camps is trying to get theirs, and that's not the kind of player I am. So like I'm trying to set people up when everyone's just trying to show the coach like they can get a bucket. So I would go up to her and like I forget exactly what I said, but basically like I don't normally play this bad, and I'm a young kid at this moment. So I think we lost him for a second, but I'll keep
Oh
going.
boy. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah, you're good.
But yeah, so I'm just like a young kid then, and she's like, no, like I can tell like you're talented, like even when your shots aren't falling, like you can still tell the type of player you are and the type of person you are. So so I went up to her. I forget exactly what I said, but I said something along the lines of, I didn't really play. This isn't how I normally play, and I'm a young kid. I'm nervous. I don't want to go up and talk to her, like. And she just right away was like I can see your potential. Like you don't have to make a basket. Like I can see like the type of player you are. You have the quickness, this and that, and I can tell your IQ. So that kind of made me feel better about it. And then I just talked to her after more, and then we eventually set up a visit. And then on my visit, uh, at the conclusion of it, obviously you get to talk about money and the scholarship portion of it. And then in Division 2, it's not like Division 1, like at Shepherd, like I might be oversharing, but at Shepherd at least, they only have like 6 full scholarships to divvy among, at least for Shepherd, and you kind of divvy those up between all the players on the team. They may get like half, whatever, maybe quarter, 3 quarters, and she saw something in me where she immediately offered me a full ride, and that's without like any academic scholarships or anything. So my relief was kind of like I kind of had a big sigh of relief because like in the moment, whether she knew that or not, like I said, like I wasn't highly recruited at all. I didn't have a bunch of schools jumping at me and stuff, so I was just thankful that one person was willing to take a chance on me and saw something in me. Especially like that's just like a high honor that she would probably split that scholarship up between two, three, 4 people, but she saw something in me where she was willing to invest a full scholarship in me. So I kind of just jumped on that opportunity like probably 2 weeks after, and just like told her I was gonna go there. So I had my school paid for, and like obviously student loans are no fun too. So I didn't really want to have to deal with that.
Tell me about it.
So I didn't really give other schools much of a chance to kind of recruit me, but also, like I've said before, like they didn't really give me a chance either. So I feel like I was under recruited, kind of carry that chip on my shoulder just because of how I look, my size, where I come from. But I think I've done a good job of proving those people wrong, and yeah, just kind of carry that chip on my shoulder still to this day. All the teams I've played, never were willing to take a chance on, a small town kid like me. So I'm thankful for Shepherd, thankful for my experience, and I wouldn't be at Marshall today if it wasn't for that. So.
And we can go back to the question that I asked before Fields cut out. There was a certain teacher that said he beat you at horse all the time. I'll let you respond to that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that I don't really remember that happening. His memory seems to be a little foggy with that one, but if he feels that way, we can run it back anytime. I'm willing to meet him in any gym. So I'll just let him talk.
Hey,
Yeah, a certain
I'll be
baseball
there.
coach.
I will be
Yeah,
there.
I'll be there too. Absolutely,
All right, we'll have to
absolutely.
make it happen.
Anytime that this specific coach slash teacher can have his foot put in his mouth, that's I'm definitely there to see that.
Yeah, that's a good day. Anytime that happens, huh?
Absolutely.
So actually, you had a pretty instant impact when going to Shepherd. Your first season, you actually averaged almost 20 points a game, 7.3 assists a game, and just over four rebounds per game. How was the transition for you from high school basketball to collegiate basketball? Was it a pretty simple transition? How different was it?
It's certainly different in certain aspects, but at the end of the day, basketball is basketball. Same length of the court, same hoops are the same height, 10 foot. So, basketball is basketball, and you simplify it like that. You just go out there and play. But the differences would be the biggest one for me, at least, would be just the caliber of players you're playing with. You're also playing with people who were probably the man in high school, or I guess the woman in this case, but you get what I'm saying at least. So that was kind of an adjustment, knowing like I'm not the only one out there who scores or who's had success. But also me being a team player and like the selfish player that I like to say that I am, I adjusted to that pretty easily. And I think also what goes into that is just being put in a good position. And I was fortunate enough, and I say fortunate like, but I did put in the work for this, and I just feel like I get these moments, and I got the green light because of the amount of times I've been in the gym working on my game and the amount of time I invest into it. So, but my coach had believed in me enough to let me have a big impact even as a freshman. And I don't think I started my first game. I may have, I don't remember. But like that was a turning point for me too. I'm like this isn't the same. Like, so I really got to earn. It's a different coach. I got to earn her trust, and her respect and all those good things. So, but eventually we got there. She kind of let me have the green light, and I just kind of ran up from there.
Kind of popped off, and we're like, all right, give her some more minutes here.
Exactly. Yep. Slowly
so,
growing.
so, I mean, I kind of told you this too. I played collegiately as well. What was like the biggest transition off the court? Because I know, like, when you go from high school to college, that's like one of the biggest adjustments you have to make. And how did you handle that?
Oh, 100%. And any of my family who watches this will just laugh because when I tell you, I was only like an hour away from home too, and I was so homesick. Like I'm a big mama's girl, and
Oh,
I love my family. Like those are my people. And I was just so homesick. I'd never been away from them, and even if it was an hour, I just kind of feel like the realization starts to set in. Like I don't live with these people anymore. I don't get to come home to them, like all those things. So I will say, and I'm not exaggerating, I went home even in season every Saturday night and just even to have that one night at home.
Wow.
So yeah, I was so homesick. But as I got older, I kind of grow out of that. But it is just like the transition that's so hard from living at home and not knowing anything else for 18 years, and then all of a sudden you go away and you're kind of on your own. And I've learned to like that freedom more. But at the time, it's just like I didn't know any better. So I miss my mom. I miss my dad. I miss my family. Like I miss having my dog around. So all those little things they don't really think of when you go. Definitely played a part for me, but like I said, I was only an hour away, so I was able to get to and from relatively easy. Probably took too much advantage of that, but still, I've definitely grown a lot from that moment. I'm 4 hours away now, so there's no way I could do that. So it was like I had to grow out of that one way or another.
Yeah, I feel that too. It's it's especially coming from a town like we have, and where everybody's so tight knit, and like your families are so tight knit. It's just
Right.
you fall in love with home. So,
Yep.
um, what about like I realize college is more of like a job too, right? Like you're starting to train. Like this is your job. You play basketball, you practice this, that, and the other. What was that type of transition like?
Yeah, I'd say you're definitely right. And my dad kind of always instilled in me just like it is a job essentially. They're paying for your school. So there's an expectation there to perform and go out there and do the job that they're giving you essentially money for. So, and definitely you're treated more as like I won't say like an employee, but like if we're using that reference, like, yeah, you have to practice at this time, we're doing this at this time, and it's you're kind of like not a slave to them, but like there's no ifs ands and buts about it. You do what you're told to do, and you show up on time when you're told to be there. So that aspect, yeah, it's definitely more like a job, and there's more demanded of you than there is in high school, where it's kind of more of like an optional thing. So definitely mandatory, but I've definitely always felt like, yeah, I kind of do owe them something. They're giving me a free education and they're paying for this and that, so it's my job to go out there to perform and to do what is asked of me.
So what was that like though? Like, how was your time management skills going into that in terms of like, you have to divvy up your practices and your classes and your homework and stuff? Because I'll tell you, first foremost, I struggle with that. How did you handle that?
Yeah, so I'd say thankfully I'm not a procrastinator whatsoever. So as a matter of fact, I get stressed if I don't have like an assignment done like 3 days before the due date. So I definitely always try to stay ahead. So I think that helped me a lot because and also, I obviously like basketball more than school, so I would try to get like my assignments done early in the week, and then I could just focus on having fun and playing basketball. So I think my time management was pretty good. I never had any issues really, that I can think of. But I do know that there are people who really struggle with that, and because some people, yeah, don't like to turn in things to the last minute, and I kind of feel like you put it on yourself, but it's a big adjustment, like going from high school to college, and just the expectations in the classroom and in athletics. So
And
I
I
don't know if you
wasn't even
call
an
me out like that,
athlete.
but okay.
I wasn't even an athlete, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but I was in school for 7 years, and most of the time they call those people doctors, and I got nothing out of it. I was
hey,
what they
Yeah,
that's
called a
okay.
nothing.
professional. I was a professional student, I guess.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah, it's really not. I can tell you, I have no regrets. I really don't about school. So with that, Abby, like you say that with schooling and stuff, when you hit your COVID year, how did that really take a toll on you, or did it at all?
Um, I mean, yes, I did. Like, I feel like it did everyone to some extent, but I feel like so for me, whenever the ban and everything happened, like our season had just finished, and I always say now, like I'm thankful for it. Like we didn't end up going like further in the playoffs, which in the moment like sucked because we were a good team and we felt like we were good enough to do so. But then realizing after like had we had made it, it would have been worse like having the unknown because those kids like that were seniors at the end of that year that didn't get to experience like March Madness or anything like that, like they didn't get that back. So I like that our season ended and like I knew how it ended essentially. And then just like I mean, I was gonna end up going back home for the summer anyway. Just ended up doing it a little sooner. But this may sound bad, but I kind of like I realized people were going through a tough time, but I kind of found like good in it, like just being able to spend time with my family, especially me being the youngest and my sisters and stuff had been at college as well, and we kind of missed that family time. Like we weren't all in the same house ever, and then we ended up finding like time where we were like a majority of it. So definitely, I don't want it to happen again by any means, but I tried to find the joy in it and the good in it. So I think it's all about perspective and how you looked at it. So it didn't take too big of a toll,
Yeah,
but certainly.
you really took a negative and turned it into a positive, which is a really good thing. A lot of people, I mean, maybe myself included, I was never able to find really a positive in it. But it sounds like you really were. So obviously, with you had one more year you played at Shepherd after COVID. Uh, what what went into kind of your decision to transfer? to Marshall after playing 3 years? Was your just time was up, or did you want to like change of scenery? What was it in that made you decide I want to go to Marshall?
Yeah, great question. So my coach at Shepherd actually ended up leaving and going to Frostburg State to be their head coach. So in that moment, I was just kind of I didn't know who was going to be our coach, and when you commit somewhere, um, you kind of expect the coach like that to be the coach for your next 4 years. So I wasn't necessarily committed to it. The coach was about to come in there, nor did I know who it was going to be or their style of play if it was going to fit, mine. So I just kind of took advantage of the opportunity and just to kind of even like I still had like intentions of possibly going back to Shepherd, but I just kind of wanted to see what was out there and like the interest that I would have. So ended up going in the transfer portal, and I did get like a ton of interest the second time around from like a bunch of D1s, also some D2s as well, but just kind of ended up picking Marshall. Like long story short, because the proximity to home, though it is 4 hours, like for Division 1, like my family can still come see me and like spend the weekend with me when like we have conference games like back to back and stuff. So that was a big part of it. They poured a lot into me, so still being able to allow them to see some of my games, and then also like Marshall really takes care of their athletes and like the travel is really nice. They were going into the Sun Belt whenever I committed here, so last year was their first year in the Sun Belt, and I really liked, the conference and like the type of areas I would get to see and things like that. And then also just as far as basketball goes, I didn't want to go into a program where, I'm going to sit the bench or not get minutes or whatever. And their point guard had just left, so they were in need of a point guard and an impact at that position right away. So I felt like I was going to really have a chance to come in here and obviously I have to prove myself first. I didn't want a coach to guarantee me time because then, what if I came in here and wasn't good at all? So they told me I'd have to earn it, but the opportunity was there, and I was going to have the chance to do that every day. And kind of that's all I needed to hear. Because from there on, I just had faith and trust in my abilities that I'd be able to come in here and kind of prove to them why I should be on the court. And so it kind of worked out in that regard. Um, but yeah, that's kind of why I ended up choosing Marshall. Long story short, of course, more factors than one go into it, and I think most people just think it's all basketball. Like when you're transferring schools, like or it's all the sport you're playing, but no, it's do your classes transfer, um, what area do you want to live in, and all those good things. So it's not just basketball, and it's ended up being a good fit all around for me.
It's a little inside basketball here, but what kind of competition did Marshall have to fight off for your services?
Oh my gosh, I'm not tooting my own horn whatsoever, but
Hey, toot it. Let's go.
no, no, there was a lot. I will say like it came down to like oh I really like South Dakota for some reason. Like I know that sounds random, but Cleveland State. I talked to Missouri. Like I could really go on and on about it. But I do have an appreciation for all those people who reached out to recruit me because like even though it's the second time around, like they didn't have to do that. But they believed in my abilities, even coming from Division 2, that I could play Division 1. So I definitely try to get back to everyone, even though it was like a lot of emails, just to kind of show like, hey, like I do appreciate you reaching out, whether I'm interested or not. So definitely a good amount of competition. And as a matter of fact, my old coach who I committed to here would tell you that like I waited till the last minute to tell him I was coming here. I think I was supposed to tell him by midnight at a certain day. I told him that was the day I was going to decide, and I called him at like 11:55, and he was like, "I didn't think you were ever gonna call me, good or bad." So yeah, it was a hard decision, and I will say that was the most stressful time in my life because you just got to pick a decision and make it the right one for you, whether it ends up being that or not.
Well, yeah, so you said that in kind of the whatever part 2, part 3 it was that we've had to go through, that you were kind of I don't want to say homebody, but you had the ability to go home every Saturday night, as you had said. How was that adjustment to living 4 hours away? Now in Huntington, like that had to have been, I would say, from what I have been told, you are very humble. You are more of a, you are very family oriented. How did that really take a toll on you moving 4 hours away to Huntington?
Yeah, certainly a big one, but I will say I adjusted to this way better than I adjusted to being an hour away, which may sound a little weird, but I just kind of knew like, but I kind of mentally prepared myself for the fact that I wouldn't be able to go home all the time. And but I'm super thankful for my support system and my family. They always make time for me and go out of their way to come, pay me visits and stuff. So whether that be like, I know I'm going to see them every 2 weeks or like every month, like we'll have something planned. So it's kind of nice, like knowing that. And then basketball, especially Division 1 to Division 2, like then again, the jump to high school to Division 2 is big, and then Division 2 to Division 1, it just becomes even more invested, and you have even more going on. So I honestly don't have much time here to like, I won't say free time, but like my schedule is pretty packed most of the day. So I don't really think about it too much, and then always just like FaceTime and stuff. But I think it's definitely something that needed to happen, part of growing up and getting out of your comfort zone. But and for that reason, I will say I've grown so much off the court and on the court, obviously, but off the court especially. I've learned how to be away from home and to kind of learn to how to adult better.
Adulting is fun, isn't it?
Oh, it can be, but not
So
all the time.
a little more on the recruiting question, like how many visits did you get to do when you're in the transfer portal, if any? Because I know it was probably kind of a hectic time, like you said, you took to the last minute. Like, how many visits did you get to go on, and or was it just kind of like a trust type of thing?
Yeah, so I think you get three or five visits like that you can go on when you transfer. But I went on three. I went to here, obviously. I went to South Dakota, and then
Ooh.
I also went to Cal U, which is a Division 2, because I still, wasn't completely sold on like transferring to Division 1. So I took those three visits, and then I think it's five because I did have a visit lined up to Cleveland State, but ended up committing before I went on that visit. So
So was it like a systematic thing that made you transfer?
I would just say like the unknown, like just not knowing like how I was gonna fit with the next coach or who the next coach was gonna be, and then just kind of like feeling like I owed myself the opportunity to possibly make the jump and go to maybe a team like Division 2 wise where I could maybe compete for a national championship or even go Division 1, or I just feel like I owed myself the opportunity to at least see the interest I would get. And then once I did see that, and I felt like, I've worked hard enough, I've kind of accomplished a lot at Division 2 already. Like, let's see what I can do and just keep challenging myself.
And I kind of wanted to play off of this. Like you said, you're working on your second coach now. The coach that originally you had committed to is not there, and Coach Caldwell actually comes in this year from Glenville State and had a very successful run at Glenville State. Winning one or two national titles. So when it comes to systematically, obviously, with the team, how can compare how things were last year with the coach you committed to now with Coach Caldwell?
Yeah, so just like a funny little background on that. Actually, when I was transferring, she was recruiting me pretty heavy to go to Glenville State and play for her. And like we'd obviously communicate a lot via text, and like we're even kind of like possibly in the process of setting up a visit. Then I ended up committing here, so I kind of like got to know her a little bit throughout that, and then coming here, committing to the coach that was here last year. His style was kind of like the style I played at Shepherd, like still ran sets, but would kind of give you the green light to, go and transition like whenever like the opportunity was right. But from I think from any coach to the coach I have now, like it would be a full 180. She's just likes to use the full court. I'm sure I don't know if you guys are familiar, but presses full court all game. We don't run sets hardly at all. You just go make a play. Players make plays, and she doesn't really have too much like I won't say control. She's definitely telling us what to do, but like she's just kind of like you go out there, you guys make plays on offense, go in transition. Like I want to play fast, get press, get steals, all that good stuff. So I think her style is completely different from any I've ever watched or played in. So I think me being the player I am, I like to go in transition. I also like to play fast, so it suited me well. But still an adjustment. I've never pressed the whole game or even like trapping, well, we trap all ball screens, so even that, like, I'm not used to that either. So it's just little things, and just her expectations are certainly different. from a lot of coaches I've had, but I think I've been able to adjust well. There's always a learning curve with getting a new coach and a new staff together, especially when you didn't commit to play for this person. But I think I've adjusted well, and it's been paying off for us so far.
Yeah, from what I understand too, is as at Glenville State, like she ranked very high nationally in points per game with the two teams or the last couple of teams that she's had, especially in the national championship winning team. So, I definitely understand the pace of her offense is very high, very intense.
Yeah, it's definitely run and gun. She wants to score as many points as she possibly can. I think we're number one in the Sun Belt in points per game. I don't know what we rank nationally, but steals per game, we were number one in the country for a while there. So yeah, it's just a run and gun type of style, and she wants to put the basketball in the hoop, and then on the defensive end also get after it and get easy steals, get to lead to easy layups. So I think just even seeing the points per game stat, like you said, it's kind of easy to tell that she likes to get up and down the floor.
And from what I can tell too, I kind of did a little bit of background on you guys. From looking like you're 11-5 currently, 5-0 in the conference. You won your last 5 games, and so with that being said, do you think it's because of just you guys put a pace on a team that they just can't keep up with, or kind of what's going on with that?
I would say like 100%. If that's not the biggest aspect, it's certainly one of them. We also play a lot of players. We go really deep, so I think like we're playing teams who may play like 7 players a game, and like their top players are probably out there almost all game, whereas we keep fresh bodies in consistently. So I think eventually it gets like they might stay with us in the first quarter, but as the game goes on, like that wear and tear starts to happen kind of on their bodies, and they start to kind of lose their legs and stuff. So I would say 100% the pace plays a huge factor in it, because we also practice that pace every day so they can scout it, but like they're not used to playing it. So I think that's definitely benefited us, but there are some teams that we have to play twice in the league, so it'll be interesting to see their adjustments the second time around.
Well, I don't know if you know this, E, but Abby's actually coming up on 2,000 career points. Uh, I believe you are, what is it? I think it's like 55 points or something like that. You're very close to 2,000 points.
Yeah, I have seen that in like some of the like pregame notes for our games, but I'm not one to like keep track of it, so I'm not exactly sure how far away, but I have heard that I'm coming up on it, so we'll see.
I did the math the other day, and I had it, of course, in my calculator, and I was just like trying to figure out how many points a game you average over your last 4 years in college, and of course, I didn't write it down to be able to talk about it, but I just
Yeah,
know that you are coming up on 2,000 points. It was actually pointed out to me by a buddy of ours, actually. You may know him, Doogie.
oh, yep, I love Doogie.
Yes, he actually
We all
pointed it
love
out.
Doogie.
Yeah.
Yeah, who doesn't?
So I mean, like going off of like just like more about like the college game. It's so was there kind of like a holy crap moment? Like I'm on the court playing against Florida, or I'm on the court playing against like these bigger teams that we all watched growing up. Like what kind of was that like? Was it like eye opening, or was it like, hey, we're playing basketball, let's get going?
Yeah, yet again, good question. Because I would say last year when we played Purdue, I kind of had that mindset of like, because that was my first year Division One as well, and that was our opening game. We played at Purdue, which is just like an historical arena, and I was just kind of like taking it all in, like wow, like I'm playing Purdue. But like this year, I mean, I would just say like when we played Florida, first of all, we were coming off a losing streak and we needed to win, and second of all, I'm like they're like I don't care what's across their chest. Like we both play basketball, we tie our shoes the same way. And I'm gonna go out here and compete. And honestly, like I said, I just play with that chip on my shoulder. Like none of these schools ever thought I'd be good enough to be on the court with them or play with these girls. Like let me just go see what I can do and just play hard, play my brand of basketball, and leave it all out there. So I think more than anything this year, it's kind of been like my mindset's always that, but I think I've more had the mindset of like not mad, but like you didn't think I was good enough. Like even though it's not personal, but like to me, like it kind of is just in the fact that like they never thought I was good enough. Um, so I just feel like it was a great opportunity for me to go out there and just play basketball. And if I would have had a bad game, I mean, not that I wouldn't be mad at myself, but like it's still the same thing. Like it's still just basketball at the end of the day. So
Well, let me be the first to tell you, if you haven't been told already, you definitely belong. I mean, I mean, just based off of watching you play, not even stat wise, there's more to the game than just your stats. You know, the Florida game I did get a chance to watch. I didn't watch the most recent Georgia State or Coastal game, but just from watching that game, watching you how you were in that game just made me sit and think like, wow, this girl really has come a long way even from Frankfurt. So don't let anybody tell you you don't belong. That
yeah,
chip on that shoulder has been filled. Absolutely. You definitely belong in Division 1 ads.
hey, I appreciate that.
Yeah, the first highlight I watched of you in D1, I think you caught like a little like pocket pass on the hip and just let it loose. I'm like, okay, this is how we're doing. So like, where do you get like that confidence? It's just like, you know what, I got this. It's one of those things where um, you've worked hard at it. You've done, the reps. You've done this. It's like, you know what, I'm just gonna let her rip. Is that kind of what goes through your mind, or did it take you a little bit to build up to that?
Yeah, and I always say this. I always say repetition creates discipline. So when I get in a game, it's not anything I haven't done hundreds of times before. So I think it's like less thinking in the game. Hey, if I'm open, if I have a little bit of space, I'm gonna let it fly, and see if I can get it to go. But um like you said and stuff, like yeah, all the hard work goes into it and stuff, and then it's kind of up to you when you get in a game. Like you might shoot hundreds of shots in practice, but you might only get what 3 5 threes or something like that a game. So it's up to you to make those opportunities count. So I'd say it's less thinking and more just kind of instinct when you get into a game. And it's just like it's not anything I haven't done before. So if I see a little bit of space, if I see a driving lane, like I'm gonna try to go make something happen. So I would say yeah, my confidence really helps me. And I got that confidence from the reps and the hard work that I put in. Because if I didn't work hard, if I didn't put that stuff in, I wouldn't have the confidence or even feel right about going out there and trying to do some of the things I've done. So some people may look at like shots I shoot and be like that's not a good shot, like that's a deep three, like. But for me, like it's like you don't understand, like I worked at that shot, like I put that shot, like I've worked in that shot hundreds of times before. So it's just kind of like I know it's kind of an easy answer to say, like hard work, but that's really what it comes down to. It's just putting the reps in and then going out there and just playing off instinct and hopefully the ball goes in the basket, and if not, you try again the next
Listen, if she's between the lines, she's open, guys. Let's just get it going.
game.
So Ab, is this your final year of eligibility?
Yeah, so I was telling Ethan like this is like my COVID year. So had COVID not happened, like last year would have been my senior year.
So, with this being your final year, obviously everybody in their final year wants to accomplish, conference championships. They want to get to NCAAs. They want to win a national title. Other than those, like, what are you? Is that really your main goal? I mean, everybody's is. I mean, everybody wants to win a national championship. I feel like you guys have a very good, strong point to get to the tournament, and make a deep run, just based off, like you said, with your depth. Like, kind of explain like where you want to go from here, and even like with it being your final year, like what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to post career? What do you want to accomplish?
Yeah, so of course like that's our goal, to win the conference and then to also, just give ourselves a shot at the tournament. Because all you need is a chance when you get in there. You just never know what can happen. So definitely that's a goal of mine. And then afterwards, I'm not gonna lie, like I know it's coming up, but I haven't, really settled on what exactly I want to do. But I've thrown around the idea of possibly playing overseas after and at least experiencing that. And then if, I don't like it or if it's not for me, I can always, say at least I tried and I won't have any regrets there. But then also, I have my undergrad in sport management and I'm getting my master's in leadership. But I really just like, I don't know if you guys have picked up on this, but I just love basketball and I love sports, big sports junkie. So I
Did you
really
pick
want
up
to,
on that, E?
yeah, yeah, you might not have, but yeah, I
I got a
just really
hint.
want to stay in the game. And so if I get the opportunity to get into like collegiate coaching, I'm going to jump on that. And then if not, still like stay in sports, whether that be administratively or, possibly, hopefully being on the court as well.
Listen, so being as your potential personal advisor right now, I would advise against Russia That's
Yeah,
let,
yeah.
let's
And I
let's
think
not do that.
yeah, I don't know if they'd let that happen anyway, so I think we're good there.
Okay, just keeping you safe. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah. Appreciate that.
Well,
So,
you
I
got
mean,
anything else?
well, I mean, just kind of going into it a little bit more, like on the court stuff, because I love talking, sports. I don't know if you picked up on that either, but
Love it.
um, I saw that you guys like put up like a buck 20 on like Point Park and stuff like that. And it's just, I'm excited to watch you guys play, and I'll be the first to admit I haven't watched as much as I probably should. I've watched the local girl highlights, of course. You just like jacking up threes and going down the court. But you kind of made me excited to watch you guys play and kind of watch the pace of the game, and I'll definitely be tuning in and watching you guys going forward.
Yeah, definitely tune in. I know it's easy for me to sit here and promote our team, but
Yeah.
like we really are a fun group to watch, and I think um a lot of people like I know basketball sometimes like could be slow depending on the pace of play and how teams play and their brand of basketball, but I just feel like there's always I know I'm playing in it, so but I do feel like there's always action or always something going on in our games, and we have a big one coming up Thursday at 6 o'clock. So if you want to tune into that, that would be a good one to watch.
Oh, I
Yeah.
definitely will.
Yeah, I've actually caught myself like checking out like, hey, when does Abby play next? And you know, really getting on because a lot of your games are actually on ESPN Plus.
Yeah,
So
all of them are. So
yeah,
no.
it gives me an opportunity to really to tune in more now than really ever before.
Yeah, it makes it easy.
So
That's for sure.
yeah. So really, I only had one other thing. What I did previously in my first season, what I'll call my first season, which was actually all audio. I never did any of the video. Long story short, with how that worked out was the guy that was editing the stuff actually had to quit. So I actually took a huge sabbatical, I guess we'll call it, when it came to the podcast. But I used to do a Mount Rushmore of whatever it was, the topic that we were kind of talking about. But I really wanted to kind of move forward from that. And I wanted to ask you, like, you had mentioned your like, holy crap, I'm playing Division I basketball when you were when you played at Purdue and played on Katie Court. What are some of your favorite places that you have played? What are some of the places that you are like kind of like a do you have a dream place that you want to play?
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna try and like give you the answer off the top of my head, so I may miss
And
some.
don't count your home court as your favorite place to
Oh,
play. Let's go outside the box here.
okay, I can do that. So yeah, I really enjoyed playing at Purdue. I think that that's just like a historical arena. And their men's team's always good as well, so I feel like it's pretty well known. So that was a big one. And then I mean, the Power Five arenas are always cool. I liked playing at Wake Forest this year, just kind of seeing like Chris Paul in the rafters and stuff, and like just kind of visualizing that like he played there and he was on that court. Because he's obviously a legend and one of the best point guards in the NBA. So that was kind of cool for me. And then let me think. Let me give you another one. This is gonna be super random, but I really liked playing at South Alabama for no rhyme or reason. I just kind of liked their gym, and it was my first conference game in the Sun Belt last year. We don't actually get to play them there this year, but we did last year, and so that was just kind of cool for me. Cool first Sun Belt game, and their arena for some reason just I liked it. So I will say those three. But I've been blessed for since I've been Division 1 and even Division 2 to see like some pretty cool places and see some pretty historical arenas. But actually, now that I'm thinking off the top of my head, I liked playing at JMU a lot. That thing's like brand new, and they packed it. It was senior night. Their men's game was a doubleheader, and then on top of that, as you guys probably know, we're not far from James Madison, so a lot of my family and some of my friends were able to come support me. So almost forgot about that one, but that's definitely up there. So I would say those ones. And then you said play a place I would want to play,
Hmm.
like a dream place. Oh my. Um. Well, a dream place, I guess I would say maybe Yukon, just because of like the history there and just how many great women's basketball players they've had in the program. and the coach they have there. So I would just say maybe UConn, just from the history, and just to be able to say, hey, I played at University of Connecticut. I feel like everyone is well aware of that program and everything that's been accomplished there. So I'll say that for my dream place.
Yeah, when like I said, I worked with the women's basketball team at WVU back in 2007, and we didn't, and that was when they were in the Big East before the Big East disbanded and everything. But we actually did play UConn. We played them actually played them at home, but did go to Hartford Civic Center. We didn't actually get a chance to go to
Wow.
Gamble Pavilion, and of course, I did get to say, "Hey, great job, coach!" Coach A, and for those who don't know, Gino Oriema is the coach at UConn. But that was my yay. Like I did actually get to see and meet Coach Oriema for
Yeah.
about 2.5 seconds. But yeah, there is a lot of history in Gamble Pavilion up there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like um, a lot of people don't get to meet him at all. So 2.5 seconds is
I'll
something
take
to
it.
hang your hat on. Yeah.
So, and of course, there's also like the Madison Square Gardens of the world too. Like that would be, I think that like, if I was a basketball player, like that's like the ultimate that I'd want to play.
I would say, okay, this might sound bad, but like, I don't know if they'd ever sell that place out for a women's game. So like, I'd want to play somewhere where like we could get like a huge, huge crowd and like passionate fan base, whether that's home or away. So, I mean, yes, that's a dream place for sure. I just don't know how the atmosphere would be for a women's game, but that place definitely has a lot of history and they certainly pack it for some Big East games and the Knicks games.
I mean, hey, come tournament time, if that's like a location that they have a like a Sweet 16 game or
That's
something like
true.
that, you know what I mean? That'd be.
For sure, yeah, for sure.
And I literally had something on the top of my head, and I was like, I wanted to ask her. Oh, I do remember it now. So you had mentioned about going overseas, and this is really, I think, the last thing that I had. Um, Playing overseas. Obviously, the WNBA is a possibility. Is that somewhere you could kind of see yourself is in staying stateside, or is it really like your um, to go overseas is kind of your really a dream more than the WNBA?
No, I would say the WNBA is like definitely like a dream for sure. But I will say it's like harder and like there's definitely more politics involved, like if you fit the mold of like a Power 5 player, but if I ever got the opportunity, like I would do my best to make like the most of it, but I will say like it's probably like for me at least easier, to get some like notoriety and stuff like playing professionally and then like see what happens from there wherever that may be. But even like a lot of WNBA players play overseas just because of the pay that they get. Like they actually make more money overseas than they do playing in the WNBA. So they'll do like half and half, which like essentially like sucks for them because they don't get an off season. But still, like you're still playing great competition depending on the league you end up in, and so there's a ton of them. There's a ton of them, but you never know who you may run into like overseas or even here. So definitely a
Yeah.
dream, but let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, they definitely have a second. A lot of the current players, I've always followed UConn growing up with Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi, and even as far back as Rebecca Lobo, back I believe like 1995. A lot of the ladies they go overseas because they do make more money, which is
Yep.
crazy to think. But yeah, that's pretty much all the questions I had for you, Abs. You got anything else?
Yeah, one more thing, and I just mentioned the tournament, and that kind of like stoked a question in my head too. So, being is that you enjoy shooting the ball, is there any thought, or has there been any contact with you about potentially doing like a 3-point contest come tournament time?
Nope, not yet at least, but that would be a dream as well actually, just to like kind of be a part of that. But yeah, haven't really had anything on that, but it's a good question, good thought. We'll see what happens going forward, I guess.
I'll start the campaign now.
All right.
Sign the petition.
I'll get it. Hey, I'll get it out there.
Well, hey guys, that like I said, that was pretty much all I had. I'll be the first to say too, Abby, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule, out of your evening, out of the 4 or 5 times that my computer has reset or messed up. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to sit here with Ethan and I, and I very much appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to watching you the rest of the season and going forward.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for spending a little time talking with me and giving me the opportunity to be on here with you guys. Regardless of the malfunctions that may have, I think we had a pretty good conversation, so it's no problem. And I just thank you guys for having me.
Hey, you see what happened though? He reset his computer and now it works fine.
Yeah, that's right.
We're not cutting
Thirty
corners
straight
anymore.
minutes.
Hey, we're not cutting corners anymore. So yeah, and again, Abby, we do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. You got me excited to kind of watch you guys and move forward and see where we go on this, and I'll be rooting for you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening and watching, and we appreciate you taking time out of your evening. So, from myself, from Ethan, from Abby, I hope everybody has a great night, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Look forward to the next episode.